Welcome everyone to today's deep dive. Really excited to get into this one with you.
Yeah, me too. It's a really solid topic we have lined up today.
It really is. So our mission today is to explore this highly encouraging and honestly super relevant Sunday morning message.
Right.
It was delivered by lead pastor Matt Erdos at Living Water Community Church.
That's LWCC over in Anderson, Indiana, right?
Exactly, Anderson, Indiana. And what we want to do is focus entirely on the biblical content he brought to the table, and more importantly, how that ancient text actually intersects with the friction of your life right now.
Because that's the goal, right? We don't want to just sit here and talk about abstract theology.
No, definitely not.
We want practical application.
Right.
And Pastor Matt's message is incredibly grounded.
It is. So for everyone listening, our specific goal today is to extract 3 key points from this message. 3 walkaways that will actively make a difference in how you approach your daily life starting today. But to frame all of this, we actually have to start with how Pastor Matt opened his message. Because it is a pretty unforgettable visual.
Oh, the airplane story. Yeah.
Yeah, the airplane story. So picture this. Pastor Matt is taking his very first flight ever.
Which is already a big deal.
Right. He's heading to a conference in Texas, and he's traveling with a buddy of his. And his buddy decides to tip off the flight attendant that it is Matt's first time flying.
Of course he does. Because what are friends for?
Exactly. So they get up in the air. They are cruising at 37,000 feet, going 600 miles an hour. And the flight attendant decides to really make it a memorable occasion.
Oh, man.
She brings him this massive bag, just completely stuffed with snacks, pretzel soda, pop the works.
Just loading them up?
Yeah, but that's not the best part. She also forces him to wear a literal crown on his head.
A literal paper crown.
Yes. So here is this grown man, a lead pastor, sitting in a commercial airliner wearing a crown while his buddy is just cackling in the background taking pictures.
I mean, it's hilarious. But the pivot Matt makes here is brilliant.
It really is. Because amidst all that humor, the cackling and the pretzels and flying 600 miles an hour, Pastor Matt notes that God spoke directly to his spirit right then.
Yeah, with a very specific question.
Exactly. The question was, do you know what I've done? I crowned you.
Which just completely shifts the tone.
Completely. He immediately connects that internal moment to the biblical narrative in 1 Kings, the moment where the prophet Elijah throws his mantle over Elisha.
Right. And for anyone who might not remember that specific story, the mantle was a physical cloak. But throwing it over someone wasn't just a fashion choice.
It was a huge deal.
It was the ultimate transfer of calling, of prophetic authority. Elisha was being marked for a specific purpose.
So you have this silly temporary crown from an airline, and it serves as this incredible catalyst to recognize the eternal spiritual crowns that we are given.
And it really forces you to look at the identities we cling to, because we wear so many different crowns in our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
Pastor Matt lists a few of them, like the parent crown, the spouse crown, the friend crown.
The career crown.
Exactly. And we strive so hard to wear all of them well. But it begs the question of what crowns actually matter in eternity.
That is the big question. Out of all the roles we play, which ones does heaven actually recognize? Now, the New Testament mentions 5 distinct crowns, but Pastor Matt zeroes in on just one for this message.
The crown of life.
The crown of life, found in James chapter 1, verse 12. And understanding what this crown is and how you get it leads us directly into our 3 main takeaways today.
So let's jump into point number 1. The trial we face.
Yes, the trial we face. This first point really requires a paradigm shift in how we interpret our struggles.
Because it is so easy to forget this when you are in the thick of a really difficult season.
Oh, for sure. Your immediate human reaction to hardship is usually a feeling of abandonment, like, God, where are you?
Right. But Pastor Matt emphasizes that your trials are not a sign that God forgot you. They are actually proof that you are in the race.
Proof you are in the race. That reframing is essential. And I love the examples Pastor Matt uses because they are so grounded in reality. They aren't always these grand cinematic disasters.
Sometimes it's just the daily grind.
Yes, like his example of sitting at a roundabout.
Oh, the roundabout rage is real.
It is. You're sitting there and the person in front of you simply cannot figure out how to drive through it. It's a test of patience.
But then he scales it up to heavier things, too.
Right. It's the sudden, gut-wrenching trial of being laid off from work effective immediately.
Or the daily friction of a teenager constantly needing correction from their mom.
Yeah. And on the heaviest end of the spectrum, it's lying in a hospital bed, wondering what your future holds. These are the realities of the trial.
But to understand the reward tied to these trials, we We have to look really closely at the language James uses in that verse.
This was fascinating to me, the Greek distinction.
Yeah, so in the New Testament, there are two different Greek words that get translated into English simply as the word crown. The first word is diadema,
Diadema.
and this is the royal crown of a king. It represents innate authority and power and rule. It's the gold jewel-encrusted crown you probably picture when you hear the word.
Right, like royalty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But James deliberately avoids using the word diadema in chapter 1, verse 12.
He uses the other word.
Right, he uses the word Stephanos.
Stephanos.
And a Stephanos is not made of gold or jewels, it's a victor's wreath, traditionally made of woven branches or leaves.
Like they gave to athletes in the ancient Olympic Games.
Exactly. It was the prize for finishing a race.
So I want to pause on that imagery for a second because this is huge. If a Stephanos is just woven leaves, it literally dies.
Withers away.
Right, it dries up. So why would James use a decaying crown of leaves to represent the eternal crown of life?
That is the whole crux of the metaphor. The value of the Stephanos isn't in the material it's made of. The value is purely in what it represents.
Wow.
Because this crown isn't handed to the strongest believer or the one who lived the most flawless, comfortable life.
Right.
It's given to the believer who refuses to quit. It is a crown of endurance. Those woven branches symbolize that when everyone else got tired and gave up, you kept putting one foot in front of the other.
That is so powerful. And bringing that directly to you listening right now, Christianity is not a spectator sport. You can't just sit in the stands and watch everyone else run.
Pastor Matt has a great line about this.
Oh, the Cheetos line?
Yeah, he jokes that you can't just sit back on the couch eating Cheetos and taquitos just observing the faith of others. You have been selected to compete.
Which he roots in John chapter 6, verse 44, reminding us that no one comes to the Father unless they are drawn by the Holy Spirit.
So if you are engaging with your faith at all, you have been drafted into this race.
You're on the track.
You're on the track. And just like you would never expect to build physical muscle without experiencing some physical growing pains, spiritual trials function the exact same way.
God doesn't waste a single trial.
Not one. The hardship isn't a punishment. It's the training required to build endurance.
Which brings us perfectly to Pastor Matt's second key point. Point number 2, the test we endure.
Right. Because realizing you are in the race is just step 1. Figuring out how to survive the distance is the real test.
Because the Christian life is a marathon of faith. It's not a sprint. Your faith is rarely proven when life is smooth and all the bills are paid.
No, your faith is proven in the exact moment when you desperately want to quit and you choose to keep going anyway.
Pastor Matt references the Apostle Paul here in 1 Corinthians 9:24, that we need to run in such a way as to get the prize. And he illustrates this with this incredible high-stakes story about his 7-year-old daughter, Daisy.
This story is so good, the narrative pacing of it completely mirrors the endurance he's preaching about.
It really does. So Daisy had signed up for this local race. I think it's called the Scarecrow Stampede or the Scarecrow Camper.
Yeah, something like that. It's a quarter-mile race.
Right. Now, to an adult, a quarter mile is just a warm-up. But to a 7-year-old who has never run a race before, that feels like an absolute marathon.
It's an insurmountable distance for a little kid.
And she was so excited, but there was this massive logistical conflict. Pastor Matt was actually running a church booth at the very same festival, and his booth was clear across town.
Almost a full mile away from her starting line.
Yeah, so he had to sit down and tell her that he might not actually make it to see her run.
Oh man, the dad guilt?
He describes watching her face just completely fall into despair.
The crushing disappointment of a kid. So Matt is stuck at his booth just feeling awful.
Yeah.
And then his wife gives him a 10-minute warning.
Right, she says she's about to run.
And he can hear the loudspeaker calling the runners from the complete opposite side of the square.
And he just takes off.
He takes off running. He's sprinting across town.
And while he's running, he hears the starting gun go off in the distance. So he knows immediately he missed the start of her race.
So he changes his trajectory. He aims straight for the finish line instead.
And he arrives completely out of breath. He's exhausted. And he looks up, and there is Daisy approaching the finish line.
But here's the thing. Because she hadn't seen him at the start line, she was running really slow.
Yeah, she's out of breath. Her head is down, staring at her feet. You could just see she was entirely ready to quit.
And this is where the psychological shift happens in the story.
Matt is standing at the finish line, and he yells out at the top of his lungs, "Daisy, go!"
And she looks up.
She looks up, and she sees her father standing right there waiting for her. and instantly her whole demeanor changes.
She takes off running harder and faster than she did at the very beginning of the race.
She powers through all that physical exhaustion purely because she saw her father at the finish line.
That spiritual application is just profound,
Mm.
especially for anyone listening right now who feels like they are running on empty.
Because sometimes your race of faith feels exactly like that quarter mile did to a 7-year-old.
You are exhausted.
Your head is down, you're staring at your own feet, consumed by your circumstances, just questioning if you even have what it takes to finish.
But this shifts the focus from our internal fatigue to the external presence of the Father.
Exactly. When Daisy looked at her own tired legs, she wanted to stop. But God is standing at the finish line of your trial.
Like a loving father or a coach on the sidelines.
He is calling your name, saying, "Don't quit now, you're almost home." Looking at the Father provides this massive reserve of strength that focusing on your own circumstances never will.
Which brings all these concepts together beautifully into point number 3.
Point number 3, the crown we receive.
We've established that the Stephanos crown is for faithfulness and endurance. It's not for running a flawless race.
Right.
But here, Pastor Matt introduces a theological insight that demands some really deep reflection.
This was the biggest takeaway for me. He argues that your endurance actually is your worship.
Yes, that is a vital reminder, especially for seasoned believers who have maybe unknowingly reduced worship to very specific confined activities.
Right. We're so conditioned to view worship as singing songs on a Sunday morning, or giving money to the church, or serving in some visible ministry.
And those are absolutely forms of worship.
They are. But Pastor Matt elevates the sheer grit of endurance to that exact same holy status.
Pushing through your trials when the money runs out, when the grief is just so heavy, when life gets unimaginably hard, and you simply refuse to quit.
That continuous obedience is an act of deep worship to God.
And to really cement this concept, he shares this amazing metaphor he picked up during that trip to Texas.
The Jacob's Well analogy?
Yeah, regarding Jacob's Well from the book of Genesis.
The premise here is a question of survival in a hostile environment. So if you are in the middle of a vast, barren desert, how do you find a well?
Right. How do you know where to dig?
The answer is you look for the single tree. In a desert ecosystem, if a tree is surviving and green, the well has to be directly underneath it.
Because the roots are going deep down to tap into the living water.
Exactly. But the well isn't just sitting on the surface waiting to be scooped up into a cup. The living water is there, but accessing it requires action.
And it requires immense, brutal endurance.
Yes, it does. We have to strip away our modern context for a second. In the ancient Middle East, they didn't have excavators.
They didn't have heavy machinery or drills.
Pastor Matt points out they dug these wells using simple sticks, sometimes just pieces of cloth to scoop out the dirt.
And they had to dig down 150 feet.
150 feet, day after day in blistering desert heat.
Try to even conceptualize the physical toll of that. Scraping away packed desert dirt with a stick inch by inch, 150 feet deep.
It's exhausting, it's repetitive, and it often feels completely unrewarding in the moment.
But that is the exact metaphor for our spiritual trials.
Yes, sometimes you are in a desert season and you feel like you are just digging with sticks.
But that refusal to stop digging even when you are bone tired, Pastor Matt refers to it as the literal sweat of our endurance.
The sweat of our endurance.
That sweat is your worship. You endure the desert digging because you trust the living water is down there.
It totally reframes the daily grind. So what does this mean for the end of the race? When we finally cross that finish line and we receive this Stephanos, this woven crown of life earned through all that blood, sweat, and endurance.
What is its ultimate purpose?
Right, do we just keep it?
The biblical narrative provides a very clear answer to that in Revelation chapter 4, verses 10 and 11.
Right.
It describes the elders in heaven falling down before the throne, and they do not wear their crowns to glorify themselves.
They aren't building a personal trophy case.
No, they cast their crowns at the feet of Jesus.
We don't hold on to the reward. The entire purpose of enduring the trial, of running the marathon, of earning that victor's wreath, is so that we have something of profound value to offer back.
We endure to honor the one who carried us all the way home.
That is beautiful. Pastor Matt summarized this theology so perfectly. He said, "Salvation gets us into heaven, but faithfulness determines the crowns we lay down at Jesus' feet."
You aren't just surviving a difficult Tuesday. You are gathering the materials that will eventually form the crown you offer to Christ.
Wow, we have covered some really significant ground today. Let's recap the 3 key walkaways for you to integrate into your life this week.
Okay, point number 1. See your trials differently. They aren't a sign of abandonment. They are spiritual training and proof that you are actively in the race.
Point number 2. When you hit that wall where you want to quit, don't look down at your feet. Look up to the Father at the finish line.
And point number 3, treat your daily endurance, your refusal to give up, as a profound act of worship.
Pastor Matt leaves his congregation with a really clear pastoral challenge. Don't quit, don't settle, run to win.
Run to win.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something to explore on your own as you navigate whatever season you find yourself in today.
Right, building on that incredible imagery of casting our crowns at the feet of Jesus. Consider this. If the ultimate purpose of the crowns we earn in this life, our spiritual victories and our hard-fought endurance, is to joyfully give them back to Jesus as an offering.
How does that change the way you view the earthly crowns you are striving so hard for right now?
Exactly. Whether it is the promotion crown, the social status crown, or the perfect parent crown.
Are you exhausting yourself just to build a temporary earthly trophy case? Or are you gathering offerings for eternity?
That is a heavy question.
That is the question to carry with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Pastor Matt Erdos' message. We hope it brought you focus and genuine encouragement to keep running your race this week.
Look up at the finish line.
And we will catch you next time.